Welcome to Great Day Live. You know, this is such an important show for us and important for what's happening here in Kentucky. We're going to kick off our flood relief show by catching up with one of our first hometown proud shows, Harlan, Kentucky. It's in East Kentucky. And this is part of Kentucky that is very near and dear to our hearts here. The entire Great Day Live team spent time there getting to know everybody, highlighting all the progress that's been made there. And while a lot of that area was spared by the worst of the flooding, they still took on some damage. And there's so much damage to talk about in East Kentucky. Jeff Marietta is with the Harlan County Beer Company, friend of the show, live here in the studio. You know, thank you for making the drive this morning, Jeff. Where do we begin with kind of the devastation that you are seeing in East Kentucky? And I know we want to talk a little bit about ways that you guys are helping, but take us through kind of what happened this weekend and this week.
Yeah, I mean, so first of all, worst natural disaster to ever really hit Eastern Kentucky in at least a century, and by death toll, one of the worst ever. So, you know, just the damage and the destruction is just absolutely tragic. So many lives lost, so many communities just uprooted, houses destroyed, places that have never flooded, and places that are prone to flooding didn't flood.
That's crazy.
It was just an insane weather event, and now we're still picking up the pieces. The community that I live in, we're Harlan County Beer Company, we were spared, you know, this flood, although this is the third major flooding disaster in the last 2.5 years that our communities have faced. But communities in Hazard, in Whitesburg, in Hindman, and this is Letcher County, Perry County, Breathitt County, Knott County, absolutely destroyed. And so right now, you know, I'm on the ground at the Foundation for Appalachian Kentucky and the Appalachian Impact Fund, and we're collecting money for the Appalachian Crisis Aid Fund, and that's going directly to individuals. We've already dispersed a number of dollars directly to individual families, and now we're about to launch a business and nonprofit fund that gives out $10,000 grants to businesses and nonprofits affected by the flood. But we're talking probably decades of recovery.
I mean, you're kind of at the heart of, when we did our original show, you're at the heart of bringing business and opportunity to East Kentucky. And that was why we were so excited to focus on that. And you were saying, you know, you're seeing and hearing from so many businesses that don't have the right flood insurance or don't have, they're not going to get their money back. And you want to inject, you know, that hope that business is coming back to East Kentucky. So, I mean, will a lot of the money be used to help people kind of get their businesses back on the ground?
Yeah, and, you know, we've had so much traction in the last 3 or 4 years. You saw it when you were down in Harlan. It's amazing to see what communities in Hazard and Whitesburg and Harlan and Corbin are doing. New businesses.
So much has been happening there that I feel like that it's almost hard to describe for our viewers here. So much is happening there, and there's been so much excitement. And you work with a lot of people that are from East Kentucky that are excited about the future again.
Yeah, and they're coming back, renovating buildings, you know, putting in new businesses, and even despite COVID did not slow things down for us. And this flood's not going to slow things down for us either. We've dealt with it before. But on this magnitude, yes, we are going to have to give direct aid to these businesses. As I was telling you, the IGA and ISOM, where the woman had been paying for flood insurance for insurance for decades, which she thought covered floods, but it covered everything but floods. It covered hurricanes, tornadoes, everything. So these businesses are going to need, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars of grant money to just get back up on their feet. And we can't let even just one grocery store go, because without that grocery store, without that nonprofit, without that small business, you don't even have anything in the community. They are that anchor institution that the community members can come around. Like schools were affected, healthcare facilities, recovery centers. I mean, you name it. In these communities, they have been destroyed. And so now we've got to go into the rebuilding effort.
We had one of our reporters, Ford Sanders, was out there last week, and he brought to our attention a number of places where they were even trying to, you think of the cultural epicenters of places that I had never heard of, like Apple Shop, right? Talk about like what has been salvaged, because we want to save the history that's there too.
So you all have some great art and cultural institutions here in Louisville. You have the KMAC, you have the Speed Museum, you have the Muhammad Ali Center. These are places that have a repository of just deep knowledge and artifacts and archives, but they're also dynamic. They provide programming, they provide opportunities, they show the way the world is. That's Apple Shop. You know, and the Apple Shop was started in 1969 as part of the war on poverty. And the idea was simple: give young Appalachians cameras, teach them how to use 16mm film equipment, and go out and shoot their community and add some vocational training. And it's evolved into this anchor nonprofit institution that gives opportunity for youth to learn new digital skills. It has a radio station, a traveling theater, a summer program for high school students. It's all encompassing. And that their archives were submerged underwater. And so huge effort to basically protect and dry out those archives and make sure we can protect all those rolls of film and VHS cassettes and recordings of the culture and the music and the art of the region. And then same thing in Hindman. You had the Appalachian Artists Institute Center, the Hindman Settlement School, and the Troublesome Creek Stringed Instrument Company submerged underwater. And so, you know, these are the places, just if you all have your own history in Louisville flooding, the flood of 37. I mean, if those institutions were flooded, it would be all hands on deck, and, you know, we would all be down at wherever it was to be protecting those archives and making sure that institution continues to live on.
Well, that's why we wanted to have the show and have you on. We want to be more all hands on deck, and we want to know how to help. I mean, before we let you go, how can people connect with you? Where can they help?
Well, so they can help. There's a number of different places. You can go directly to the websites of Apple Shop, of the Hindman Settlement School, of the Artisan Center, the Foundation for Appalachian Kentucky, which I represent. Just Google them. They have a flood crisis fund that's going directly to people, directly to businesses. And it's an anchor institution community foundation based in Hazard, in Perry County, right in the center of all the flooding. They're on boil water advisory. Their electric's intermittent, but they're out there on the ground giving money to people and businesses that need it right now.
Jeff, can't thank you enough for making the drive, just to share the updates, and thank you for all that you're doing.
Well, we appreciate you reaching out. Thank you so much.
Well, you know, we want to get back to the beer companies that when it opens. That's our motivation. We want to be there to support you guys. You know, feel like we were part of the family there from the beginning. But again, thank you.